Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Well, hello.
Hello. How
Welcome.
are you?
Oh, I'm good. How are you,
Oh,
Michael Moore?
welcome to you as well.
I was going to say welcome to Highly Uncircumcised, but I mean, hey, welcome to you. It's so nice to see your
Highly
face.
uncircumcised. Nice to see your face as well. Is that a new hat?
It is
Yeah, I
not.
didn't
I
think I
got it in
seen that one.
Vegas. I got it in Vegas with you.
Really?
Yes, I did.
Wow. Well, that's probably why I don't recognize it.
And I you were sleeping. I have this coffee cup that reminds me of you. It says Wanderlust. And when I took it out today, I was like, oh, that reminds me of Michael, because like you literally have to wander. Like I love to explore and go out. I want to be outside all the time. I love to wander. I want to travel. I want to not stay in the same place, but I can if I have to. But like you literally have to like just get in your car and drive sometimes. Like you have to wander or you're gonna die.
Have I ever told you the story of my nickname that I got in kindergarten?
I don't think
Probably
so.
not. I'll just tell you anyway. It'll be for the user since you the listener since you just called me the wanderer. Um so when I was in kindergarten, my teachers used to always have to come find me, and they'd come find me out in the playground, or like this would be in the middle of class, like I would just be gone. And a couple of times they like called my parents, like worried, like, we're sorry, but your son is missing. Your 5-year old is missing. And anyway, I would just be out like playing in those big tires that you see on playgrounds or wherever I'd be. And my teacher in kindergarten, and I remember her name was Miss Barbara. She nicknamed me the Wanderer. So it's genetic. I've always had it in me.
It's funny that you say that because they probably called your parents and were like, "Oh yeah, he's missing." Like, just so you know, because
We don't want to worry you, but your son is missing.
they might not even care, but like now, if a kid goes missing, they like lock down the whole city. Like, there's let
Amber
nobody
alerts.
let nobody out. Like my son, one time, they called me and I think he had like a headache or something, and they called me to come get him. So I came and got him, and when I got there, and he was only in kindergarten at this point, so he's 5. When I got there, he's standing at the gate outside, the gate that I go to bring him in, and I was like, "Oh, hey," I was like, "Do we need to go inside and say, goodbye to your teacher?" He's like, "No." It's like, okay, I thought it was a little weird considering he's in kindergarten and he's 5. But I brought him home and he's getting ready to take a nap because he doesn't feel good. And I get a call, like frantic call from the teachers, like, we don't want to worry you, but we cannot find Dax. They're like, we have the alarm going off. We have everyone in here. I was like, oh my God. I'm like, I picked him up. He's home.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
okay. I was like, sorry. I listened to a 5-year-old. I shouldn't have. I should have came in and said something. But I
Oh
didn't.
my goodness. Yeah, so I've always been I've always had the need to get out. So you know what dawned on me earlier today when thinking about the fact that we were going to do a show today?
Mm.
I don't think we've ever actually talked about, at least on the show, I don't think we've actually talked about why we are called highly uncircumcised.
Yeah. Should we share the conversation?
I think we kind of need to at this
It,
point.
it was 8 hours long. I mean, how long did they have?
It, it was an 8 hour conversation, but so for those of you who are power listeners, buckle up.
We got you.
Don't go anywhere.
If you like circumcision, this is the conversation for you.
If you're into surgery,
You're into male genitalia deformation.
mutilation. It's mutilation.
It really
Oh, they
is.
got me. They got me.
It really is, honestly. I mean, we should get into this. Like, why do we do this anymore? Why
Okay, but
do
wait,
we
wait,
do
wait,
this
wait, wait, wait.
anymore?
Settle down there, cowgirl. You are just on one. Can we first get into? Did you really just put your entire face on the mic?
Don't tell me to settle down.
Don't tell me to relax. Don't. Don't tell me to relax. You understand me? Esther always tells me that. I'm like, why don't you want me to say relax? It's just my way of telling you to relax.
Because when somebody is not relaxed, telling them to relax does not work.
But it puts your consciousness in a state of, I need to relax.
Unless you say it like Will Ferrell says it to Pearl Landlord, you need to relax. Like, then it's okay because it's funny. But if you say it to someone and they're not relaxed, you're like, oh, relax. And you're like, oh, fuck you. Right now. Right now. Right
Twice.
now. Like, yes.
Twice. Oh,
Don't,
just like that too.
don't tell me to relax.
At any rate, the reason why this show is actually called Highly Uncircumcised is probably for a couple reasons, but we actually, and by we I mean Nicole and myself, we started a conversation that was just between us, which is usually the way it usually went, and then everybody else would jump in the conversation. But anyway, we were sitting next to each other on the poker table one day, probably both losing, who knows. And
Well,
I don't
one of
know.
us was probably losing, to be
Well,
fair.
hello. Hello, did I tell you my name was Michael Moore? That's so mean. That's so mean. And I'm running so good right now. But anyway, yeah, I know you do. Whatever. So check it out. We were having a conversation, and I don't know how the conversation got into. Oh, I do remember. I remember. We were actually talking about sex.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I don't remember that part, but I do
Yeah.
remember the
And
8-hour conversation.
We somehow it migrated into male circumcision.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about it, and then everybody had an opinion on circumcision, and I felt one way just because I was brought up in the church, and to this day, I mean, I consider myself a Christian, and that is a Judeo-Christian practice, circumcision.
Genitalia mutilation.
And so Nicole, in her not so subtle way, kind of let me know, like, it's mutilation and so forth and so on. And I
Again,
never really
I don't think I used that word at the time. I think it's
you probably
funny
didn't.
now. It's not funny.
Yeah.
I mean, genitalia mutilation is not funny, but when you say it to that extent, I'm saying it trying to be funny. You're like, but it kind of is. Like, it kind of is. And like, why do we do this? Really? So, like you said, you do it for religious reasons. Again,
Right.
like any religion, or like, where did they even come up with this? Like, God says you cut a little piece of your penis off. Like, oh, okay. And that means you're God. Like, what? And I'm sorry for the people who are religious. I was also raised Catholic. But if you truly sit back and examine these beliefs, like, really? And then the second thing they'll say, well, it's cleaner. It's like, yeah, because you can't.
Well, it is cleaner.
So in this day and age, you can't lift a little flap and clean. You cannot, it's like brushing teeth. It's like cleaning your ears out. It's like,
but I've heard from several women.
I've heard someone walk across the street and break their leg. Like, so should we? I mean, like, seriously.
Okay, so first of all, relax. Second of all, you've totally hijacked the pace of this conversation. I hadn't even gotten.
I'm excited. I'm so excited.
I see. Good Lord, circumcision. Anyway, and through Nicole, and you can see how excited she is, or hear how excited she is through her kind of, giving me another perspective. I did my own research on circumcision and all that. Actually, at the poker table, I'm like Googling circumcision. Yes, question. Yes, I see your hand. Yes.
Is it research or is it research?
I don't know. Is it data or data? I mean, come on, man. You are killing me right now. Yes. You with the hand up.
It's data.
I actually agree with you. It is data. And it is research, because that's what I said. Anyway. And yeah, I found out, oh my God, how much skin and nerve endings are cut away from what becomes obviously the adult male penis. Is like, I think it says something like 6 inches worth of, and obviously we're not talking about length right now, we're talking about around the penis. It's something like 6 inches total, square inches of skin and nerve endings are gone, which means you're losing 6 inches of flagato delecto. I don't know.
Well, and when you hear that, then you think, okay, and there's also, more problems with men having erectile dysfunction as they're older. And like, could that be what it could be? I mean, obviously we also understand it's probably a lot to do with our diet as well. But um, I just think, honestly, when you really just think about it, like there is no good reason to do it anymore. Someone can try and convince me otherwise, but the idea that we need it for our health, it just doesn't stand up any longer. And so when I had my son, I think we probably talked about this in our 8-hour conversation at the table. When I had my son, I didn't strongly feel either way, but if it was just me and I didn't have any, I wouldn't have done it. Because I thought about it, I'm like, wait, why are we doing that? Like, why are we like, okay, no. But my husband really wanted it done. But do you know what his reason is? Like, he's actually quite religious, but that's not why.
I'm sure that's nothing to do with religion.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, what is it?
His primary reason is because he doesn't want him teased by other kids.
So I actually find that interesting because I grew up playing every sport under the sun and have been in 100 locker rooms if I've been in one, and I cannot remember a time when I paid attention to anyone's junk at all.
And it could have been that they were all circumcised at the time. But what I do know now is that it's changing in the US. In some countries, they don't circumcise at all. In the US, it's been pervasive, but it is changing. And now they're saying, whoever they are, saying it's like 50-50, where some are circumcised, half are not. But the point is, even if none are, or not, even if everyone is circumcised, I still think that's a terrible reason. I mean, that's why we're cutting the penis of our kid, because we're worried about them getting teased. Like, really?
I've never heard that before. Honestly, you're the first person who's ever expressed.
I'm surprised you've never heard that, because my guess is that's the reason why we still do it. Behind it, and we may say it's religion, we may say it's for health, but really we do it because that's what our dad did. And so our dad wants a kid to look like them, not thinking that way, thinking, oh, I want my kid to look like me, but thinking like, oh, we want them to fit in, we want them to give them the right start in life, we don't want them to stand out, we don't want them to get teased. My guess is that's a large percentage of why it is still done, and I think that's just trash.
Tell us what you really think here on Highly Uncircumcised. So what's funny about what you just said is my father was not cut, and I am, and so are all my brothers. So, and my father was very, very religious, / Christian. So maybe that speaks more to like where his father was at in terms of like religion and all that. Yeah, but we were, us more men, we're not the same.
Yeah, I mean, I think if people still think like, well, no, it's my religion, and you aren't bothered with the idea that why you have to cut skin off of a penis for your religion. I mean, think about it the other way. Like, would you be okay with them doing it to your daughter? Right? In some countries they have that, right? But in some countries, they have that, right?
Female circumcision, yeah.
Yes, on the
especially
clitoris.
in some African countries. I'm not sure about.
Once they become a woman, they do that. Like, and I have known that when people read those articles, they're like, "Oh my God, the outrage!" I'm like, "What's the outrage?" Like, we do it every day, millions and times, like for every boy, like.
But I've always wondered, actually, and I've known about female circumcision, and not to get too like graphic or anything like that, but what is that a religious thing as well? Like, what's the purpose of them removing? It's the labia lips, right? Is that what it?
No, I think it's a clitoris. I think a circumcision is actually like part of the not the whole thing, but the hood on it. And I could be wrong. Again, I haven't looked into this. All I know is I've seen articles saying it, and it specifically would happen, at least in this tribe or this community, when a young girl becomes a woman. That's what they do. And at the end of the day, it just all boils down to our beliefs. Like, whatever your belief is.
So it's a religious thing, is what you're saying?
I believe so. Again, I'm not the expert on this. Somebody gonna have to Google it and look it up, but I believe it's just their belief that this is what you do when you become a woman. Then we want to judge from where we are, but look, what are we doing? Like, we're just doing it because we always have, and we believe that we should.
For
so we
me,
do.
it's definitely not a place of judgment. It's just more like, for someone like me who has a pretty clear understanding of the Bible and so forth, as long as I've been immersed in it in my life, I've never seen or read anything that has anything to do or even implies anything having to do with female circumcision. So I'm just wondering, like, if it's religion, what religion are they basing that on? And
I'm gonna look it up right
and
now.
if it's not religion, then why? Like, what's the logic behind it? So for me, it's just more inquisitive.
So for you, it's okay if it is religion. Like, you don't have a problem with the idea that you cut off a tip of a penis for religion's sake.
So, well, let me just answer that like this. I have one son, and we had him circumcised probably the day after he came out, I think, because we were still in the hospital. And I think the doctor did that procedure on him the day after he was born. And I was all for it before it happened. And then after it was done and they brought him back to us, and I saw the little, Band-Aid, or not Band-Aid, but like rubber thing they put around there, and, whatever it is. I probably tried to block it from my memory at this point, but I felt so bad because I love this little dude. When he came out, I was like, oh my God, my little guy, he looks like me. I always saw him and I was like, this is the best part of me. Like, he'll always represent just a better Mike, even though his name is not Mike. And when I saw his little penis, and I could see the stress on him when they brought him back, and this is like probably a less than 24-hour-old child, I just felt bad. So essentially, to answer your question, from a religious point of view, I don't think I can just sum it up by saying I'm okay with it, as much as I can say I understand the practice.
Okay, maybe you can explain it to me then. Like, what do you understand about it from a religious perspective? Like, make me understand like why that's okay from a religious perspective. And again, mind you, my son is circumcised, so I'm coming from a place who has done this, but when I really think about it, I just can't find a good enough supporting reason anymore.
Well, and of course, and maybe we'll make this a whole other show topic, and we don't need to go too far down the rabbit hole in this one, but you and I definitely see spirituality and religion and the presence, or I should say the existence of God differently, right? And I will let you completely describe how you feel about that and see that on your own, the way you want to communicate it. But anyway, I will just say that we are different. And in that difference, especially someone like me who literally was like 4 years old, I can remember being in church and winning like Bibles because I would memorize so many verses, and they would give me I earned a Bible with my name inscribed in it and stuff. I know what the circumcision means from a religious point of view, and it's not anything to be taken lightly, because it literally means that you are like you're a member of the tribe. It's an outward, visible acknowledgement of your acceptance that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is real.
But
Jehovah.
You're not accepting it. You're getting it accepted for you.
Yeah, so obviously, right? And I get that. I understand that. Which is why I was able to empathize and sympathize and have so much compassion for my own son, because it just hurt my heart. Like, I to this day, I just, anytime any one of my kids is hurting in any way, shape, or form, it evokes a response in me that literally, like, I want that pain on myself. like just give it to me. Like if I could take it from them, I would take it and just own it, and they wouldn't have to deal with it. And so if I didn't have a son, I have to be completely honest about this. If I did not have a son, and I just had all daughters, and I had not experienced my child getting circumcision firsthand, I would be, honestly, I'd be all for it. To this day, I'd be all for it. I would just, because it just, it's like you're raised to see it this way, right? And I mean, we're all sort of products of our upbringing and our environment and so forth. And my environment was one of, deep belief in God, and more specifically the God of like I said, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which is the Christian God, the God that brought about Christ. So for me, it would just be a no-brainer. Like, yeah, if you got a son, and you believe this way, then that's what you do. It would almost be like, not a slap in the face, but I don't know what's the best way to put it. I feel like it would almost be like an insult to God if you didn't do it. So for me, it would be like, what's more important? Do I want to offend God, or do I want to spare my son, a little pain? And for me, it'd be more important to not offend God. But again, having seen it and having been through it, and I mean been through it with my son, not myself, I don't know. So and this is going to seem off topic, but I'm just want to sort of give you an idea of how things can influence you. I was a huge proponent of the death penalty many years ago. Like my thought was, hey, if you kill somebody, you deserve to pay the ultimate price for that action. Maybe even up into the point of rape. I used to think rape was worth expunging a life. And I saw the movie Dead Man Walking, and that movie has to be what? I mean, I'm sure you've seen it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
25, probably 20, at least 25 years old now, something like that. Probably in the mid-90s it came out. And after I saw that movie, it literally had me do an about face on how I felt about the death penalty, because it gave me the perspective of someone actually sitting on death row and actually getting to a place where they owned, what they had done, and there was remorse, and they accepted that how this affected the families of the people that they had been a party to murder. And from that day forward, I literally changed my stance on the death penalty to the point where I don't believe in it at all. So even back then, I wasn't thinking about it in terms of, like, say, a racial breakdown of, the percentage of blacks that die on death row to the percentage of whites and everybody else, right? That stuff sort of came into the picture later on, when I realized just how unfair it was on its face. But just initially, I was like, this is not right. We shouldn't be taking lives. So I digress. I go back to the circumcision conversation. It really took me seeing what this looked like, and how the energy that I felt from my son, to really not soften my heart, because it's not like my heart was hard, but what I'm saying is just open my heart, I guess, to the fact that I can love God. I can accept that I believe that there is a God. I can accept even 99% of the principles, precepts, and tenets of the Bible, right? Christian behavior. But I don't have to just accept everything hook, line, and sinker. And again, I'll move to another topic, but I'll bring it back. I personally believe, for instance, like, say the guys who ran the planes into the towers on 9/11, right? I firmly believe that these men believed they were doing the right thing, right? As gross and disgusting as it is to kill people, and especially in the fashion that they did it, and so forth and so on, I have no doubt in my mind that those men believed 100% that their actions were in line with their beliefs and so forth and so on. And I couldn't disagree further with believing that their actions were anything less than just an egregious, blight on human behavior. I mean, it's just you don't do that. We don't take the lives of others for any reason, including religion, right? So I believe, and this conversation is definitely going in a different place than I pictured, but I personally believe that God created us with an ability to think for ourselves, right? So even just if
Well,
you think
that's the
about
whole
it,
point of human, right? The choice.
right? So even if you think about it just on a logical level, right? If someone doesn't believe in God, but just for the sake of conversation, you say, God exists, you still sort of have to look at it like God gave men, women, mankind the ability to think, to reason, to be creative, right? I mean, look what men do in terms, and by man I mean mankind. Look what man does. We've gotten to Mars now. We build structures that just defy, like, just they're just awesome. We do all kind of things daily that push the ability of man to get further and further and further into his own intellect. And I think it's not offensive to God to have my own thought. And bringing it back, my own thought is, it happened, it's done, it's never going to happen again. I'm not having any more kids, but if I did, I'm 99.99% sure that if I had a son, I would not have him circumcised. And
Me
and
too.
and
Me too.
honestly, if he wanted to do it, he could he could do it himself later on, because men actually do that. I don't know if you know about that as well. There
Yeah.
are there are grown
When
men that
when
have
they
it
have a
done.
choice, and I think if
Yeah,
that's your
I don't want to
choice,
make the choice for him.
yes. If
There
that's
you
your
go.
choice for your body, then and you feel like in service to God, or however it works for you, um, great, do your thing. But yeah, if I had a child, a boy, which I will not, because babies are so cute, but I do not want any more. um,
If I
I
found out that
wouldn't.
I was having a child, it would just be, he
This
would just
podcast is
cancel out.
over. It's
No, he would
over.
just cancel out my life
It's
because
over.
he comes, I go. Out of here, dude. I am gone. I've told Esther on many occasions, if she ever comes to me and tells me she's pregnant, I am going to be absent from the body and present with the Lord, in which we talketh right now.
you you need to relax.
I
You'd
can't
be
do it
just fine.
again. I can't
Especially
do it.
if you had a little boy, you'd be like,
I,
oh my god, I love him. I
oh, he'd
love
be
him.
so cute.
I
He'd
love
be
him so
so
much.
cute. He'd probably have 3 legs because we're so old now, but you know. He'd probably have an eye right like in the middle of his forehead or something like that. But no,
Well, you
I couldn't have that done to him. I just couldn't.
you touched on so many good points that I think we'll get
Didn't I?
into
Did you
more.
see how I brought that,
You
like,
did. You like
just
went
like,
here and then you went around and
oh, I
around,
just
but
I
they were
took
all
it
good. They were
everywhere.
all good. All the
Hey,
points.
I took it everywhere. I
And then
took
you
it
brought it right
everywhere.
back. You brought it right back. I was here, but I didn't say anything. But you did. You said a lot, and it was good.
You know what they call that? They call that ginkgo biloba. Okay, I take that stuff. Okay?
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
So I want to say one thing really quick about the idea of what you said. You thought about the death penalty until you saw something that changed your mind. I think that's the whole point about life, and that's the point I get discouraged about when I watch too much social media or see the news, when people yelling their beliefs and yelling, and like you said, the people who ran the planes into terror, we call them terrorists, and we're scared, but they truly believe what they are doing is right, and we can't wrap our brains around that idea because we truly believe it's wrong. Well, who is right? That's the thing, and that's the crazy thing about life, is that it is what we see, but the great thing about it is when you allow yourself to grow and you allow yourself to now, like, wait a second, I used to think that, or I was told to think that, or most people grow up believing things that they're told to believe, right? Whether it's religion or
Right.
education or parents or family or whoever. of course you are. I mean, how else do you get into the world? You understand the world as shown to you. And so you believe these things, but then I think you go through many periods in life where we've called them crises, or they're not really crises, they're just moments of time, which sometimes are very long moments, where you're questioning, like, wait a second, like, this doesn't seem right to me. Like, why, and then you start to realize, like, wait, no, that doesn't fit with me. And you have to align yourself with the beliefs again. And so I'm going to take it back, just like you, Michael Moore, that's how I feel about circumcision. So when I had him, I was 50% like, yeah, I don't want to do it, but I will divert to his father because I'm not a man, right? But if I were to have a kid these days, like, and the father was like, no, I really want to do it, I'd be like, too bad, I'm his mother, it's not happening. Like, now I'm to the point where, like, no, doesn't need it, don't need it. Like, we do not need to cut his penis off for any reason whatsoever. And I do love God in the way that I see God, and I do appreciate life in the way that I see it, and this great experience we have. And I think that part of that experience is what she said, is that we grow through it and we understand things as we see it, and doing the best we can. And I just don't think circumcision is necessary. But I was looking on the World Health Organization, right? And they have this big article, even just last year, about female genitalia mutilation and all how it's terrible and you shouldn't do it and this and that, and then no health benefits. And they have nothing on circumcision. The only thing they have on circumcision are actually quite a few articles, but they're all promoting circumcision to prevent the passage of HIV. I'm like, again,
are you saying that you have a higher probability of passing HIV from an uncircumcised penis?
I am
Is that what they're
not saying it. That's what the World Health Organization. And again, these are
Never heard that
general
one.
worldwide beliefs that we're holding, and these are why, because the people that we look to assist us in these beliefs are saying things like this. Like, really, like.
Actually, I have heard and read that uncircumcised penises cause women at a much higher rate cervical cancer.
I just don't understand how that happens, but okay. I mean, are you saying that these men that they're sleeping with, they're just not cleaning their penis? Like, that's basically what you're saying, right? Like, they're not pulling the skin back when they take a shower, and they're washing their pits and they're washing their butt, but they're not pulling the skin back of their penis and washing that. That's what they're saying.
I don't have any data to support that or refute that question.
You don't have data about whether they wash it?
No, because everything about me is clean and nice and tidy. I smell like Febreze every day. So anyway, but I have heard from women that I am close with that, whenever we had conversations, whenever that may be, that uncircumcised penises tend to like stink. Like, I've literally heard that from several people. Like, they just
okay.
There's an odor.
This because we've talked about this at the table. Might as well tell the whole world. Like, I've had sex in my life. It's happened. I'm 42 years old.
Are you serious? When?
And a couple of them have been uncircumcised. In no way, shape, or form does it stink. In no way, shape. I mean, these are things that get passed around that keep us in the same place that we are. I mean, these are just ridiculous. Like, again, is this person getting in the shower? Like, if this is somebody who's uncleanly, can it start a problem? Sure, of course. If they're not washing themselves, yeah, and then they probably have more problems than just their penis, right? But the idea that, like, somehow it can hurt you, or it stinks, or like, number one, I don't believe that because I haven't experienced that, right? And number two, if it does stink, like, they probably stink in other ways. Probably their pits stink, probably their butt stink, probably they have other issues.
Okay, can I just say that I refuse to believe that you're not a virgin, and
even though I have two kids.
This topic has been completely highly uncircumcised, and that is why we call the show Highly Uncircumcised, because we had an 8-hour conversation on circumcision, and we decided when we were going to do this podcast, we were just going to be uncut, baby. We're
uncut.
Raw, just in your face, like
we do not believe in circumcision anymore.
Not stinking, not non-hygienic, not none of that. We're just uncircumcised, and we are clean and to the point, and we will cut you. You will not cut us. We are uncut, baby.
Oh
Good
God.
show.
Okay.
Good
show.
show. Good show
Oh,
on
he's
both
he's
ends.
wrapping it up. All right. Goodbye. And scene.
and cut.
All right. We'll see you guys next time.